This is the Welcome to Humanity podcast with thought leader and transformative psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Moss. This show focuses on the betterment of humanity on a global scale. Each episode will leave you enlightened, inspired, and ready to make an impact in your world. Welcome to the show. Welcome to your life. Welcome to humanity. Here's Dr. Fred.
So welcome to the show, my Welcome to Humanity podcast followers and others. Welcome to the show. Welcome to what we have here. Where we are at Welcome to Humanity is we just interview the finest people on the planet, and we interview those people as a sample for what humanity has to offer. Now, I'm not saying I have access to the finest people on the planet, but I am saying that sometimes I do. And as a result of having access to the finest people on the planet, I like to share them with my audience so that we can see different samples of what it really means to be a human being. And this is more than conceptual. This is actually an opportunity to get a taste, a real taste of what it is to be a human being in these difficult and beautiful times. So with all of that said, I have a guest today that, in my opinion, is perhaps the finest human being I have ever met. Now, she doesn't really know that to be the case all the time, although I have told her on various occasions that that's close to true. But as I sit here today, having prepared for this interview for almost exactly 20 hours, I am here to tell you that the person I'm interviewing today is perhaps the finest example of what a human being is in this day and times as anybody I have ever heard of or anybody I have ever met. Now, that's a pretty large, lofty introduction. And I'm going to redouble down on it and say that I meant every word that I said. So that's who I'm interviewing today. That's who's with us. So today we have Isabella Levesque. Now, some of you are thinking, oh, man, I was kind of hoping it was someone I ever heard of. This is someone who maybe you'll hear of someday, but this isn't her goal. You'll learn more about Isabella in just a moment. I have some level of bio on Isabella, some level on introduction on Isabella. Who is this Isabella for the world? You know, I know her father and mother, for instance, and that's really my introduction pathway to Isabella is I'm very close with her father, and her father's part of the production, in fact, of this particular episode and all the episodes and even the creation of this particular podcast as an entity. Her father is my partner, Ryan Levesque. Her mother is Ryan's wife and her mother, and that's Melissa Levesque. And that's the family that they have with there. And they have a couple rabbits, just to be honest. And they have a couple rabbits, and Isabella and Melissa and Ryan, and Isabella runs the program. And Isabella doesn't just run the program in the household. I don't want to loft her up too much, but this is a spectacular woman that we're about to share her world with. So without further ado, after a large introduction, my job today is to showcase one of the most, if not the most spectacular human being I have ever met. Welcome to the show, Isabella Levesque.
Hi, Dr. Fred. Thank you so much for introducing me. So as you know, I'm Isabella Levesque. I am 10 and a half years old, and I will be turning 11 in 1 month.
Okay. Pretty soon you could start saying you're almost 11 instead of going with this old school 10 and a half stuff.
Yeah, I'm almost 11. Okay.
That's better.
That.
I'll let you go there. Go ahead.
I'm Isabella. I have 2 rabbits named Buster and Thumper.
I have Valentino, my oldest cat. Then I have the middle dude. That's Despacito. Right. And then I have the youngest one. Remember his name? His name is Winston.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tell my viewers a little bit more about who you are. What do you do? I mean, a good day. You're on one side of this country. I'm on the other side of the country. I guess you're in, where are you? What city are you in now?
I'm in Massachusetts.
You're in Massachusetts, right? And I'm in Los Angeles, so almost 3,000 miles away. And we're here kind of on lockdown, aren't we? Kind of on quarantine. So before we dive into today's conversation with my wonderful guest, Isabella Levesque, I want to just take a minute to let you know that I just finished putting together this audiobook version of my book called Creative 8. So this book teaches a surprisingly easy method for healing that uses creativity and self-expression as its primary modalities. And as a listener to the Welcome Humanity podcast, I just want to offer you a completely free copy of this audiobook as a big thank you for listening to the show. All you need to do is go to welcometohumanity.net/creative to download it. I've used this Creative 8 methodology with both psychiatric patients and with my coaching clients with just awesome results. The method actually takes less than 5 minutes a day to implement, and it really works. Go ahead and listen. I think you're going to love it. Download your free copy of the Creative 8 audiobook today at welcometohumanity.net/creative. Now, back to our conversation with Isabella. Can't wait. Welcome to humanity. Outside of that, what is your life about?
Well, I love dance.
Oh.
I love to do dance, swimming, and gymnastics.
Okay. That's spectacular. Say more about dance.
I used to do ballet and tap. Now I only do 2 dances now. I do lyrical, which is a kind of combination of ballet and modern.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do acrobatics.
Did you say lyrical? Is that the first one?
Yes.
Okay, lyrical and acrobatic. Now, help my listeners know what that is. We all kind of have a clue, even dancers, of what, some of us are dancers and some of us are not. I for one, am not really a formal dancer. So I see ballet and tap. Everyone knows about those. But I think once you start talking at the next level here about lyrical, or what was the other one?
Acrobatics.
Acrobatic, that we're not so sure what that means. Can you give us a little clue what either of those things mean and how they differ from other dances?
Well, in lyrical, it's like ballet. You sort of use the same shoes.
Okay.
It's like a mixture of like calming music and like very calm and pretty music.
Pretty music.
Pretty, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So different than ballet, based more on the music that you're hearing when you go through the steps rather than, yes?
Yeah, yes, correct.
Okay, but you use similar shoes, or one could get away with dancing lyrically with ballet shoes on. Is that correct? Or is there such thing as lyrical dance shoes?
Yes,
there is.
All of my teachers call them foot undies.
Oh. Foot undies.
Because they look like little undies that go on your feet.
I see. Okay. So what makes those different than ballet shoes? And then again, with this pretty music and these steps, there's something a little bit different here between lyrical, which seems like a contemporary or a more current form.
Yeah, it's kind of like contemporary.
Contemporary. I see.
There's a lot of like jumping, leaps, rolling, a lot of gracefulness.
I see. So even the gracefulness aspects maybe that come from ballet are accentuated in the lyrical dance steps, yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So are these songs that we would know? Or, when I hear lyrical, Isabella, I think about song. I think about words, lyrics. I think about singing. Somehow my mind goes to singing when I hear the word lyrical. Is there anything about this type of dance that actually includes singing, or am I just off base?
You are not off base. There is singing in the songs.
Ah, so you as the dancer sings as well?
I don't sing in the dance.
Help me out.
But the music, there's singing in the music.
I see. There's singing in the music.
Yeah.
I get it. And so in ballet, there's not necessarily singing in the music, but in lyrical, there tends to be singing in the music, yes?
Mostly in ballet, like for the kindergartners, first graders, and stuff like that, they have words in their ballet music, but when you start to get older, it starts to go into just like classical and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Music,
or different operas or those kinds of things.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I think that covers lyrical for now. And what's your thoughts about lyrical? Is it your favorite, or which of the 4, if we had to choose between ballet and tap and lyrical and acrobatic, which of those would you say are the ones you tend to, like if you had a choice to pick one right now, which one would it be?
Acrobat.
Oh, great. So this is a great setup for the next set of questions, because I was actually running out of questions here. So I have a good one here. Tell us a little bit about acrobatic dance.
So acrobatics is kind of like gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing cartwheels and back handsprings and flips. But it's more advanced. So the one that I'm on is, well, the level I'm in is an advanced level.
So you're saying, this for my listeners, I think I understood what you're saying, but let me just make a clarity. Go ahead.
My level is more advanced than most acro classes.
So acrobatics in and of itself is an advanced form of gymnastics, and Isabella, by yourself, is in a somewhat advanced form of acrobatic dancing. Is that fair?
Yeah. And
okay.
Where I go for that kind of special class, you have to be invited.
Mm-hmm.
And I was specially invited to it.
Wow. That's a very high honor, and congratulations on top of that. It took something, I guess.
Thank you.
They probably wouldn't invite me based on my present skills then. Yeah. All right. Well, I have a little work to do before I get a formal invitation to be in an acrobatic dance.
Yeah.
All right. I understand that. And so this one is your favorite, though. So we're talking about handstands and back springs and flips, and you're able to do that without a problem, and even do that to the beat of a sound in the background. Yes,
Yeah, pretty much. I can't do a complete flip, but I can do a back handspring.
Can you go into a back handstand, like boom, like just bend backwards, and all of a sudden you're in jump back into a back handstand? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Wow.
I can do that.
You know, just to let you know, I mean, you've met me a few times. I personally, I'm not able to do that. I'm just letting you know that. I don't know how to do that. I can do a lot of things in my life, but one of the things that I haven't quite mastered yet is going from a standing position to a back handstand, or even getting into a back handstand if someone held me up. I'm pretty sure I couldn't do that either. So
yeah.
I'd probably cause some damage. So it's good that somebody can do it. And that sounds like that's one of the things you do. So that's great. So there's some of the issues, some of the ways that you dance. But you know what? You already said you're way more than a dancer, although dancing is one of the many things you love to do.
Yes.
All right. Let's try to pick something else. What else are you about?
I also love to do swimming.
You know, I am a swimmer. So now we're talking my language. And go ahead and tell my listeners a little bit more about swimming.
So I am in almost team swimming. I am almost competing. I'm preparing for team. It's called prep team, or...
What is it called?
I forgot what the other name was called.
Okay, no problem. So tell me a little bit about what that means to be an almost 11-year-old who's in this competitive swimming stage, along with everything else you're doing. What are your strokes? What are they calling on you to do? When the pools are open, what kind of practice do you do? What's those kind of things?
Well, we have a lot of warm-ups to do. So that's why you need to get there early to start warming up in the pool. Mm-hmm. And then she tells us to do you know what freestyle is, right?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with
it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. She asks us to do maybe 2 laps around the pool, or 2 laps up and down the pool of freestyle. Mm-hmm. Or 3 laps up and down the pool in butterfly.
Can you just do butterfly 3 laps without much of a problem?
Yeah, I can do that, yep.
That's pretty outstanding. You get that. Here's another place, Isabella, just to let you know, the chance of me doing 3 laps of the butterfly anytime in the next few years or lifetimes is pretty small. I'm not doing a whole host of butterfly.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yes, yeah.
And most of my listeners can't do the butterfly either, just letting you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Some can. I have a particular listener or two in mind that I know does do the butterfly, but in general, doing a butterfly along with all the strokes. Do you do all 4 strokes? Do you do the breaststroke and the backstroke as well?
Mm-hmm.
I see. Wow.
I can dive.
Oh, now we're talking. What's that look like? Is that from what size board? Is that a 3-meter board or a 1-meter board? Do you know?
It's pretty high.
3 meters, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe 2-3 meters.
Uh-huh.
It's high. It took me a long time to get used to that.
Right.
I used to try to I used to stand in the position, and I used to lean forward but not go.
Right.
And I was like, what the heck am I doing?
Right.
And finally I got it, but I did a little belly flop.
So, Isabella, I'm going to focus on a particular thing. It feels like I got a little fish on the line here. So I'm going to focus on a little area and ask you some questions, and we'll see. I'd like you to answer from your natural self. You and I have had some fun conversations, and I think you'll see that where I am here will be another fun conversation. Okay? You can trust me for that.
Yep.
Where I'd like to talk about is you being up on the high diving board and looking out over the edge and going with, wait a second, what the heck? How did I get here? And then dealing with it, looking over, stepping back, looking over, stepping back, and eventually then making a decision to go for it. And now actually being someone who can start a sentence with, I can dive. Okay. So there's like some progression there, right? We've gone from not being able to dive to getting up to that board, looking over the edge and thinking, I don't think so, and getting over all of yourself and all your fears and all your concerns and all your worries, and then actually taking that leap off the board and now getting to the point where you would say, where you already have said that you're a diver, you can dive, right? Do you follow what I'm saying there?
Yes, I do.
Is that, first of all, is that consistent with what your experience is? Am I properly describing how it went?
You are. You are.
Okay.
You're making memories come back to me.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm asking for. So what I'd like you to do is go freestyle right now, go full freestyle on your own, and talk to my listeners, because we all have life events that look a whole lot like jumping off a diving board. Now, you may not know that, but us adults, we have life events that feel like exactly what it is you're talking about with a diving board, where we're faced off with something. We don't know how we got here. We don't know how we're going to do it. We look off to the edge. Going backward is not an option. We don't think we can. And then we sort of think we should. And then we think we better. It's the only other people have done it, whatever we think. And then, boom, we do it. And then we become somebody who can say, I did it. We all have that. Okay? This is what I want to do. I'm going to stop talking here, or I'm going to try to stop talking. I like talking, of course, but I'm going to stop talking and give you an opportunity to talk to my listeners about the progress you made from that very first moment that you decided that maybe you could dive off the backboard. Go ahead and take 2 or 3 or 4 or however many minutes you want to use your own freestyle thinking to describe for us how that whole thing went, from thinking that you might dive all the way to getting to the point where you could dive. That whole progression. Can you describe that for us?
So at first, I was really scared. One of my fears was drowning. That was a little fear I've had for a little when I first started to move up and I first started diving. But as weeks passed on, I started to get a little more confident and tried a little. And then I finally got it on my own. She was like, all right, I'm going to help you. And I'm like, I don't need help. And I just kind of did it. I kind of felt amazed with myself. A little surprised, actually.
You surprised yourself?
Yeah.
Because you were able to do it, or what?
I surprised myself because at first I really didn't believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I want to say to the listeners is you just got to believe in yourself sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just got to let go and just believe.
Mm. So I believe my listeners just got a taste of the magic of Isabella Levesque, and I just want to say that. But I want to ask you, Isabella, speak to that just a touch more, this idea of sometimes you just got to believe in yourself.
I have some friends that dance, and they're like, no, I can't do like a back handspring. And I'm like, just believe in yourself. And she's like, no, I can't. And so I took her out of the class. She told her teacher she had to get something. So I took her out of the class and talked to her. It was like a pep talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a coach.
Yeah, and I just kind of felt like a grown-up, kind of just talking to her, and she's younger than me. I told her, like, just do it. You'll be fine. I'll be here the whole time watching. You're fine. Just let go and believe.
Mm-hmm.
And she went out and did it.
She did a backflip. She did a back handstand.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. And now she's someone who can say, I do back handstands.
Back handspring.
What's that?
Back handspring.
Back handspring. So sorry. Yes. But now she's someone who can say that she does back handsprings.
Yeah.
And it's a function of you being a mirror for her and letting her know that she'll be fine, that you've got her back, that she's supported, that if she believes in herself, it's an opportunity to actually get something done that she doesn't think she can do. And then you were there to witness her doing that.
Yeah.
Outstanding. It's really just terrific, amazing. So not only are you very well achieved on your own, but you also have this remarkable skill to be the source of other people achieving great things. Do you know that? Do you get that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's a skill, and that's an accountability. That's something that, as someone who's almost 11, you have to be responsible for, or you get to be responsible for the rest of your life, that you are a source of other people growing in ways that they didn't know they could grow. You are that.
I'm kind of speechless. You kind of just blew my mind.
Yeah, I get it that I'm blowing your mind, but one of the things I'm blowing your mind with is by just being a mirror for who you really already are. Do you get that? Again, I didn't make anything up here. This is just me reminding you of the power you are as indeed one of the most amazing, if not the most amazing human I've ever met. So you are that person, and you're able to carry that out with immense and total grace. That's sure the image that we get out here when being with you. So thank you for being you, is what I have to say there.
Thank you.
You could say you're welcome. You could say you're welcome. Yeah, that's good.
You're welcome.
All right. Well done. Well done. Okay. So let's go off to the next thing, because I think there's some more. So we've talked now about dancing. We've talked now about swimming and diving.
We kind of talked about gymnastics.
What's that?
Acrobatics was kind of like gymnastics, so.
Acrobatics is like gymnastics. Okay.
So I'd kind of cross that off too.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you about something that I think my listeners probably also have a little taste of, a little morsel of a taste of, and that is how much you like to have fun. Just straight fun. Like you're like one of the funniest people I've ever met, and you just know how to have fun. You know how to have fun with your animals. You know how to have fun. You know, your dad lets me know sometimes about some fun you have with him. Is having fun an important part of your life?
Yeah. If I didn't have fun, I wouldn't feel like me.
Yeah. If you didn't have fun, you wouldn't feel like you?
Yeah.
That's pretty great. I love that.
Because of who I am, I'm the person that's happy and loves to do stuff. That's who I am, and I'm never going to change that.
That's right. You really aren't. It's at your core. You're happy. Say that again, Isabella, for my listeners. That's amazing.
I'm always happy, and that is who I am, and I will never change that.
That's
ever.
You know what? I know.
Ever.
Yeah, ever.
I could say ever for 20 minutes.
Yeah, not even for 20 minutes. I totally get that. Like never, ever.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, what we have here is an extremely articulate, someone who knows the language very well, who can describe her actions, who can giggle and have fun at the same time, be brilliant in how she describes her dancing or her swimming or her fears or her conquests of her fears. Some very, very wise conversation coming out of your mouth, Miss Almost 11. And what we're doing here is showcasing a little bit about who you are now. Isabel, you have a kind of a different past than most kids in the United States. You have a different past than most children of parents. What's brought you to be the magic that you are is uniquely you. You have something, your life is, up until this point, has not been sort of an average ride to almost 11 years old. You have a extremely unique pathway in having become not only Isabella, but then Isabella Levesque, like not born Isabella Levesque, but definitely Isabella Levesque now. And I'd like you to point a little bit to what your history is, how you know your history to be in the last, 11 years, almost 11 years. Can you give us a little synopsis of what growing up being Isabella looked like?
I think Dr. Fred knows I am adopted from Medellin, Colombia. I was in an orphanage for 6 months until, as you guys know, Ryan and Melissa, my mom and dad, adopted me. And originally my name was just Manuela. But when my mom and dad came, they named me Isabella. And now I am Isabella Manuela Levesque. And as I got older, they told me more about what my past was like.
Now, did they go down to Colombia and get you?
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, they went all the way to Colombia and got me. And when I came home to my family, I didn't cry at all. I just kind of looked at everybody with big, bright eyes, like, here I am. I'm Isabella.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older, my mom and dad told me that I was adopted. They started that when I was, I don't know, maybe 1, 2 years old. So they started out young, that I was adopted. And then as I got older, they kept reminding me, you're adopted, you're adopted. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And as I've gotten older, I've started to get I've missed my mom and dad, my real mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
A little.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Sometimes I think it was 2 years ago, I completely broke down in tears because I miss them so much. I am learning Spanish because my dream when I'm older is to go to Colombia.
Mm-hmm. So are those two things related, this idea of missing your parents and then of going back to Colombia?
Kind of, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you miss your parents and then you're learning the language so that someday
I can maybe just go there and sightsee and see the adoption center that I was at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, do you know anything about your family now? Or the rules, or how is it? Are you able to keep in touch?
You mean my parents?
Yes. Sorry.
No, there's no way we can keep in touch.
Mm-hmm.
The woman that was there at the orphanage and took care of me somewhat, they had no information on my parents. So we sadly don't know anything about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the other thing is I don't even know if I even had a dad or anything.
Well, you have a dad, but you're not sure about him.
Yeah, and I don't even know if, you know what I mean.
Yes. You don't know. Yeah, I got it. You have no idea of the circumstances of who your dad was or where he is or what kind of guy he is or even his name.
Yeah. They don't have... The only information that they have is my date of birth.
And what is your date of birth, by the way?
May 28th, 2009.
May 28th, 2009. So I get that that's how it adds up to being nearly 11.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So they have your date of birth, but they don't have even any documentation about your birth. They don't have a birth certificate per se then.
There's something I have here.
You have a piece of paper about something about you, yes?
Yeah, it could have just been the thing when we went to the judge and stuff like that. Oh, it could have been a copy of my birth certificate. A copy
of your birth certificate. That could be it.
Yeah, in English, obviously.
So I'm going to ask you a question that's this time is kind of geared towards people who are over 11 years old. So if you were older than 11, I know you'd be able to answer, but you're just like a little bit less than 11. So I'm hoping that you can take that leap into being at least pretending that you're at least 11. Okay. So the question is, when you think about your history and you think about who you've been and missing your parents and what's going on in Colombia and the present day, and you'll always be happy and you're a dancer and you're a swimmer and you're nothing but fun ever. There won't be a time where you're not that ever, not even for 20 minutes. And your name has been changed and who you are for the world is a source for believing in ourselves. Who you are for the world is just being someone who can help others, really, just by being you, believe in ourselves and then do things we didn't even think we can do. You're a primary example of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. And I didn't make anything up. All of that has already been said in this conversation. You made that very clear. So what's the future look like? What does the future look like for Isabella Levesque? When you look ahead all the way to, I don't know, when you're 13 or when you're even 18 or when you're 25, those three ages, for instance, 13, 18, 25, and who knows, maybe we'll put the next one like even 50 years old. What does that look like? What does it look like for Isabella? What's the future hold for you? What do you see? Let's say you just have the best life ever and you get to do and be whoever you want to. What do you see unfolding for yourself?
I was going to be a doctor, but I changed that to nurse practitioner.
From doctor to nurse practitioner?
Yes.
All right.
Or a veterinarian.
All right. I hope I had nothing to do with turning you away from being a physician.
No.
Okay, good.
You can. Okay. I'm just a little interested in nurse practitioners a little more.
Mm-hmm. So what happened to switch you from doctor to nurse practitioner? What is it about nurse practitioner that makes it a more interesting pathway?
Well, I have a course for school that I use because I'm homeschooled. I've been homeschooled since preschool.
Oh, you've been homeschooled all the time. This is not anything new having to do with our bias restrictions.
Yes, this is yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And one of my courses is health. And my teacher is a nurse practitioner. And I've also been to the hospital and doctors a lot. And I've seen a lot of them. And I kind of admire their work that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them giving medicine to people, shots and stuff like that.
Yes. You have your own little doll set and stuff like that for which you can be a doctor every so often. I remember your dad telling me, right?
He told you?
He did. He's that kind of guy. Sometimes we share delicate issues together, and that was one of them that he decided was okay for me to hear. So as a nurse practitioner, what do you see your future as? Like, what would that be? Where would you be that? And what kind of people might you help?
Well, I want to be a nurse practitioner for children.
For children. Makes sense.
Yeah, because I love little kids.
How little do you have to be called a little kid these days?
Actually, my mom says, like, even when you're like 20 or something like that, you're still going to be my little girl. Like
right. Your mom makes it clear that you can't grow out of being her little girl. That's a totally different question. It has everything to do with your mom and everything to do with moms in general. And it's not quite this question that I'm having here.
Yeah, I just want to put that out there.
Thanks for getting that out there, because I could totally see that Melissa's going to put a stake in the ground there and make sure that you never forget that you're her little girl. I think that's all. I think that's what she's trying to say there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kudos to your mom on that one. Thanks. It's pretty smart of her to put the stake in the ground this early and make it very clear that you never forget that you're mom's little girl. I mean, that's after all, really. You could be 60 and you'll still be mom's little girl.
Mom's little girl.
That's right. Okay, I get that. But now I'm asking you, when you say you're interested in helping little kids, you're probably not talking about that same group. Well, how old is a little kid?
Maybe stop around like 6.
Yeah, around 6.
Yeah, around 6, 7 years old.
At about 7 or 8, you start not being a little kid anymore. Am I right?
Yeah, you start to get more mature.
Yeah, 8 years old, you start to be a little more mature and maybe no longer one of these little kids.
Yeah.
And you're talking about maybe being there for the ones who aren't yet 8.
Yes.
Okay, that makes great sense.
I love to also help special needs.
Special needs kids too. So
yes.
Now tell me more about your relationship with special needs people.
They are just, especially Down syndrome kids, they are adorable and they're so cute and just, it's like they never have a dark side. Mm-hmm. They always have a happy, positive side. They're just really happy.
That is a fascinating observation. I love that. I'm totally swimming in that one right now. So you're saying that, did I get you right? It kind of spun by me that you're talking mostly about Down's kids in this case, but others that are special needs, yes?
Yes, autism is great too, and I love helping kids in wheelchairs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So in some ways, these special needs kids, part of having special needs is that you don't have a dark side. You don't have the luxury to be just whipping around your dark side left and right.
Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of like when they talk, they're in a happy mood. Like, hi, how are you? Kind of like, it's really cute.
Very cute and inspiring.
And yeah, very inspiring for people to just just be yourself and just be happy.
It seems like we have a little theme going here with this idea of just be yourself and be happy.
Yes.
If you had like a recommendation for my listeners, there's some listeners out here who are having great lives. There's listeners out here who have beautiful children. There's listeners out here who are beautiful children for their parents or for their family, for the world around them. There are some people who are just having beautiful lives as they listen to us today. And there's other people who, at least for now, are thinking that their life isn't so beautiful, that it's too hard or difficult or too much challenge or terrible or frightening or all the many pains and misery that some people, as you know, right? People experience those things too. Do you have something that you could tell my listeners? What does it take to live day to day like Isabella Levesque seems to have mastered? What does it take to live day to day?
It takes a lot of positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a word? Yeah.
Yeah, great word.
A lot of positivity and just a lot of happiness.
This is an area where I think you really do excel, and maybe you don't know it as such, but it isn't that you don't accept misery. In some ways, you're very familiar with misery.
Yes.
It's just that you don't have it run your show. But it's out there, right? You get it. You respect it. It's real. You get that people are frightened or in pain.
Yeah, misery is real. Depression is real and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like people are
misery,
depressed.
Depression, anxiety.
Anxiety. Mm-hmm. What else? Name some others.
Anxiety.
Confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Hopelessness.
Not believing.
Yeah, so lack of faith. Feeling stuck.
Yeah, kind of like in a pickle jar. Like, I'm in a pickle.
I'm in a pickle. Or unable to get things done that they say they want to do.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed.
Sometimes upset, frustrated.
Upset or frustrated. Maybe trouble sleeping or trouble finding purpose.
Yeah.
Like, why am I here after all? What's the point?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then some people can be irritable or mean even, yes?
Yes.
What's the story with mean people? Have you got any ideas or answers for people who are, what should we do with people who are in our world who maybe are just really easy to irritate, or maybe they're not necessarily kind? What do you do with those people?
I know some friends that used to bully me at a camp. And I would get bullied because people think that, oh, you're too small, you can't do this. Or like, oh, your head's too big for your body, or like your ears are too big, or stuff like that. And when they're doing it to a friend, I just tell them, stop. I don't care what you think about other people, just stop. You can think about other people in the way that you want, but you don't have to say it.
And that worked for you in many cases.
Yes. And this is for any of the listeners that ever do bully. You need to stop.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm.
It gets frustrating to people. And if you don't stop, that's not going to make the world a better place.
Yeah, so there are some people out there, by the way, who do bully others, and they can be of all ages, right? I mean, there's people out there who know that they're mean to other people. Mm-hmm. And you're saying
teenagers, stop. Kids, grown-ups.
Even grown-ups, yep. And your word for them is just stop.
Yeah.
What should they do instead? I mean, they got a habit. Isabella. They like being mean to people. What are they supposed to do with that time if they decide not to do that anymore?
You can think mean and think all these mean things to people, but just keep it to yourself.
I see. So so we're looking at the breaking point here is when something comes out of your mouth about it. That's when the damage comes.
Yes.
You can think whatever you want, but once you start saying it to somebody, that's crossing an important line.
Mm-hmm.
I see. So what should they do? They look across the room, they see somebody who's goofy or less than or has too big of a head, or they don't like what color they are, or they don't like how bad or how good they do in school, or they think their family is poor, or they think that maybe they've got a limp, or they've got a funny looking lip or something like this. Okay. And then they see that person, and their whole life they've been sort of making fun of that person and judging that person. What should they do today that's different? I mean, what do you have to say to them right now? What should they do different?
Maybe just stay away from people that you think are weird and funny.
That's interesting. So at least one way to manage this is don't put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's say I'm in the line at the store, and of course keeping social distancing rules in effect. And I look over there, and there's someone there. I just think, man, I just want to be mean to her. She's gross, or she's ugly, or she's poor, or she's less than me. And I could get off on being mean to her. What should I do differently? Why shouldn't I be mean if I want to be?
It hurts people's feelings. It gets passed on.
Say more about that. The second one.
It like gets passed on to family. Like, oh, this person bullied me, and then the family passes it on to people, and then it passes on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, maybe I'll bully too. Like, maybe I'll join their dark side.
They join their dark side.
Yeah.
All right, Isabella. Well, I totally get that. And I guarantee my listeners are showing this particular audio to their children or to their friends or maybe to their husband or wife, having heard your words of exquisite, remarkable wisdom. Thank you. So I'm now going to go to another place. I got you to just exasperate a little bit here, a little exhale, but here we come at you again, Isabella. On a couple of occasions this conversation, you brought up a certain concept that us adults think we're pretty aware of. And that is something that you particularly called our dark side, the dark side.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the special needs children, for instance, they don't live inside their dark side.
Yeah, sometimes they reveal it at home, but normally they don't reveal it in public.
They don't reveal in public. And it sounds like you're very inspired by that. You think that's very attractive for you to be working with them or to be friends with them or to, be a source for them. Part of it is that they have their dark side in such a place that they don't have to reveal it in public.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I am curious about this dark side. So do you think every human has a dark side?
Yes, I do. Most people they don't think they have a dark side. They're like, oh, do you have a dark side? I'm like, no, absolutely. And then someday you just show it.
That's part of being a dark side, is that it shows up when you don't even know you're showing it. That's part of its nature, isn't it? So even special needs and even people who are really old and wise, and even you have a dark side.
I do.
And you do. Like, you make it very clear that you definitely have a dark side.
You don't want to see me on April Fool's.
I don't want to see you on April Fool's.
I really got a dark side there.
On April Fool's Day, you let it all show up.
Yes.
Oh, that's like the sound of a dark side woman right there. So you pick a day. In this case, it's April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
For like letting your dark side out of the cage. Yeah?
Kind of, yeah.
And it would be a day that you're thinking, I don't need to, probably if I want to keep my life clean, well, maybe I should not hang around with you on April 1st. Right? You're kind of like dark on April 1st, yes?
Yeah.
April 1st just came and went. April 1st was 5 days ago. It's April 5th now.
Yeah.
So 5 days ago, did you show your dark side a little bit?
A little.
Are you care to reveal what you did for my listeners? It's okay if yes or no. For instance, just a quick example of a little bit of Isabella Levesque's dark side. You don't have to do the whole thing, but just a quick example. What did you do on April 1st that you wouldn't have done any other day?
Well, it was a prank on my dad.
A prank on your dad. We're ready for this. Bring it hard. Bring this baby hard.
You know my dad's listening to this, right?
I know. Your dad is actually not only listening to this, he's putting it all together when we're done. He's going to spend hours with this thing to make sure it's perfect. So go ahead and bang this one out. It's really great. So you had a prank on your dad on April 1st.
So me and my mom had this idea because he loves to drink tea.
I know that. I've had tea with him before. That's great.
Yeah, and we were going to pretend we smashed his pot.
Oh.
That he boils the water in. So we were going to find a fake video or like a sound of a crash, like a that sound like it smashing on the floor. And Mom's like, no! And I'm like distracting him. But when Mom went into the video, she forgot to pause it. So it went too early and it had to do it at the right time. Next thing I know, he hears it. I'm like, did you hear something? He's like, yeah, I heard a crashing sound. And I'm like, Mom!
Oh, my goodness. So you were trying to choreograph things without rehearsal, and she let it on a little bit too early, and the whole prank sort of got broken down.
Yeah.
So your dad didn't even get the prank done on him?
No, he didn't.
Well, it was a good try. It would have totally freaked him out, I'm sure. So...
Yeah,
the luck of angels, he was protected in this one. He did. Yeah. Was there other things that happened on April 1st? Any other pranks or any other places where you showed your dark side? Maybe with your rabbits or with your...
No, we only did a couple pranks. The other's not as great as that one, but there's one of them. Maybe I'll share it to you sometime, but I don't know if I want to share it on this.
Okay, so maybe not on the public. You could do it, and maybe you'll tell me off the air sometime.
Yeah, my dad did try to pretend that something popped up on my iPad, and he said, Donald Trump has coronavirus.
Oh.
But his voice is like, Donald Trump has coronavirus.
Oh.
It was like squeaky, like, yeah, we don't believe you.
I got it. Trying to find times to laugh and joke about coronavirus. It's not so simple, but it is. There's a place for it. There's a place for it, even to be humorous and joking even about that virus every so often, right? We got to let off our steam somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Well, Isabella, I could keep talking to you, and I look forward to our next conversation. And I don't know if you know it, but you've now been invited to my Seder on Wednesday, my Passover Seder on Wednesday night, which is April 8th. So 3 nights from now, we'll be together again. It's going to be a really, really beautiful time. It's Passover season. And between Passover and Good Friday and Easter all this week, we have a whole lot of before we get off, I'm going to have you talk a little bit. Is faith and God and spirituality, are they part of your life too, Isabella?
Yes, I do have a good connection with God.
Please say more.
Sometimes when stuff is hard, sometimes I just pray to God. Mm-hmm. Like, Lord, please help me clean this room. Or I could be in a hard time. And I just go on my knees and just start to pray.
Mm-hmm. And you have a working relationship with this God of yours.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Of course you do, right? I mean,
yeah.
If you're going to do magic things, you better have a relationship with God.
God, yeah.
I got that. That's awesome. Isabella, say your whole name out loud, like the way it is now, with your middle name and the whole thing. Can you say it with the accent and exactly how you want to be known as your name? It's really important that you say your name because that's the name you really are. So tell my listeners what your name is. Your full name, please.
My full name is Isabella Manuela Levesque.
Absolutely awesome. Beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Fred.
It's been a deep and honest, total fun. It's been a blast, a complete pleasure, a complete honor. I humbly appreciate your willingness and our relationship. Your willingness to come on to the show, our relationship from the very beginning, truly a sourceful relationship for how and why to be happy even when I can't figure it out. Sometimes I think of you, and that's what brings a smile to my face. So I just want to know that that's really who you are, even when you're not immediately in my picture. It's really who you've been from the moment I met you and from the moment that I met you, really.
Thank you.
So my Welcome to Humanity listeners, it's been a deep pleasure to share my love for Isabella and Isabella's love for the world with you. And I hope that this one leaves you inspired and moved as much as it did for me. It's great to be with you this afternoon. Again, it's a gorgeous day here in Los Angeles. My hope is that it's gorgeous where you are as you're listening now. And even if it's not, it really, really will be soon, or it really has been, or there's a space for you to find the honor that comes with welcoming your humanity. So Isabella, thanks for joining us again. It's just been super cool to be with you. Thanks for being on the call.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You know, something I just really, really love about Isabella, she just comes from the hip and she's just so sweet and worldly. I mean, isn't it true? She's like from another planet or has multiple lives, and she's wise so far beyond her years. And she's just a pleasure to talk to be around, to be a friend of, and to even look at and listen to. Just a wonderful girl. So maybe as you were listening, you thought of a person or maybe a few people who need to hear this episode. So reach out to them right now and invite them to listen and to subscribe to the Welcome to Humanity podcast. Speaking of subscribing, I'm going to ask you to put forth a little effort that something will have a big impact. First, could you please take a moment to hit the subscribe button right there on your podcast player? You're going to get the latest episodes as they become available if you do. And second, if you actually appreciate what we're doing here, could you just take 5 minutes to leave a review on Apple Podcasts? Subscribes and reviews are two major ways we can reach more listeners with the Welcome to Humanity podcast. And if the conversations we're having here contribute to your life, just please pay it forward by subscribing and leaving an excellent review. I'd be truly grateful for your support, and so would my listeners. Also, to catch up on any past episodes you may have missed, head on over to welcometohumanity.net/podcast. So until next time, this is Dr. Fred, and this has been another Welcome to Humanity podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy. Take care.